Hello. Today I'd like to talk about, this is the video I'm reacting to, so I'm not really talking about it. It's a video by the leftist cooks called You're Wrong about dunking. Let's go ahead and watch it. They make good videos by the way, so you should watch this one. You can check them out in the video description. Anyway, let's get into the video. Boom. In we go.
Is the theme right now.
So.
It is hilarious that we were all supposed to sort of fall down in spasms of ecstasy when Meghan Markle, a B-rate actress, married into the...
You know, sorry before I interrupt them, but the thing is that well, as I'm interrupting, rather, the thing I have to say about the thing that you're talking about, Ben, is that realistically, it's weird when Americans like talk about the royal family, because like the Americans fought like the War of Independence to get rid of the British, so it's like a weird sort of like almost like like delayed Stockholm syndrome, like the Stockholm syndrome didn't kick in quick enough, lads. Oh well, we'll have to leave them be. I mean, they're racist enough to basically be the same copy, but anyway, and then like they kick them out, and the next thing, a few years later, they appear to be like just really pro England. It's very weird. But anyway, back to the video.
I don't know if I want to talk about Ben Shapiro.
Here at the Daily Wire are making some big moves.
He's dunking on someone. He's doing a reaction video. So I was going to do a reaction to him. I was going to dunk on him dunking in order to dunk on dunking more broadly. But I...
Don't worry. I will be dunking on you.
Just can't look at him. I mean, he's the ultimate synthesis of bully and loser. How do people do this?
I mean, it is incredible. Like, that's the thing. Like, Ben is kind of like... sort of like a prick that would be very, very, very easily killed. What I'm trying to say is he's not exactly like... He's the kind of person who's only a threat because of the power that's given to him. Not really like a threat in an even match. And that's the thing, I guess. But to be fair, what is an even match? If you're a very strong person, but I'm armed with a machine gun, doesn't really matter how strong you are in comparison to myself. Like, you're gonna fucked. But also, what if I'm gonna be like, well, yes, you couldn't beat me up or you'll kill me, but like, there's after I have this, I've got a missile that's pointed directly at you, so you can't even go anywhere because it'll keep tracking you and it'll blow you up. All I'm saying is that just Ben is not. He is a bit of a weirdo. Ben, is a bit of a. I don't like to say that though. That's not very nice. But like, he's a bit of an odd sort of construction of the far-right system.
Excuse me, but how can Disney claim to be
That was edited?
family friendly when they are promoting the very thing that makes having a family impossible?
What? Like, wait, what? Are they promoting murdering your family? I don't think they are.
Oh. What? You mean capitalism? No, seriously, random commenter. It's not Disney's fault your family don't love you. It's because you're a raging homophobe and you don't even wipe your own arse for fear you'll like it. And post! It's a video about dunking.
One small thing I will say in relation to the family. I remember back about almost a year ago, I made a video on the fascists don't understand the nuclear family. And you'll see this, and basically, you've got the sort of stuff of like, well, if you live with extended family, you don't have a nuclear family. If you are in a family relationship where you have, any sort of thing beyond this is the cis person and this is the other cis person, they have a child and that's it. There's no more, no less. What I'm trying to say is, imagine if you will, one day, you're walking down the street, or rather, your father is, or if you are the father, and you're shot brutally straight to the temple. Your family is no longer a nuclear family. So we have the general purpose things that are within your control, and then we've got things that are outside your control, but like are part of you. So like you can't control them, but like they are part of you as a being. And then there's just things that are outside your control. It's just like nothing to do with you, or it's just chance, it happens, and there we are. And there's all these sort of things basically that basically make it so that you can't really say that you want the nuclear family as your opportune thing, because it makes very little sense. Because as I said, if I just shot your, parent through the head, you would no longer be a nuclear family. Ever. You could never be that again. You could no longer be that. That's just the thing you can no longer be, So at the end of the day, you've got to understand that. At the end of the day, well, you would soon find that, it's very easy to break a nuclear family. I don't think that not having a nuclear family is a bad thing, to be clear. I'm just saying there are many ways, even if you want one, that you won't have one.
And also, this video is brought to you by Wren.
Okay, well, unfortunately, this is one criticism I will have. I understand the leftist discussion are not exactly, second thought, or anyone who has, not a lot of money, but, a good bit of money coming in and, can definitely spend some money just sort of paying someone to go through stuff. I understand that they may not have done the little bit of research you might want to do into Wren, but Wren is actually a for-profit company. I did a video in the past, but it wasn't a very good video. It was basically just a video pointing out that I think that Wren is a carbon offsetting company, which is concerning. I would ask where exactly those carbon offsets are going, but that's not the main thing, because I don't know, and probably the YouTubers do. Although there is, of course, things like they can be lied to, but the point is, of course, is that first of all, carbon offsetting is kind of an issue, because we plant a bunch of trees that will burn down, yes, because that's how climate change works. As the worse climate change gets, the more, you'll have fires, and then it's a forest fire, then the worse climate change gets, because all that carbon gets released in the atmosphere. Trees not just permanently away. It's if you kill the tree, it releases the carbon. So that's the one thing they would say there. Wren is not the best at all, in my opinion. So that's my sort of a take on Wren. Not the best company. I feel like a lot of YouTubers endorse them, but maybe they should have considered not doing that, because they're not very good as a company. They're a for-profit company. I know this is a 2 minutes of me talking about Wren, but really, don't go to Wren, in my opinion. You'd better go to a charity or something. And it's always the issue. If something is for-profit, even if it's not for-profit, you always have to be concerned with, well, if I'm giving money to a charity that consistently advertises to me, where is my donation going? Seems like it's mostly going to advertising. And that sort of thing here. If it's a for-profit corporation, why exactly are they spending so much money on advertising? How do they have so much money? Surely, if it's for-profit, then they must have had this money off of, having people give it to them. So that means they have all this money to spend. So then you'd be better off going for somebody who spends all of your money on planting trees that they like. That's sort of my position on these sort of things. Anyway, so one small criticism there. But anyway, back to the video.
More about that later.
So,
The YouTube algorithm is often thought of from a creator perspective as a kind of mysterious and capricious gatekeeper that exists either to be hacked by guesswork and luck, thumbnails with faces like this, or titles like, "We literally 1,000 puppies and instantly regrets it." Or it exists simply to thwart the views on your leftist analysis of Magnum PI, or to gift you with comments like, "Used to love your videos, why'd you stop making them?"
One small thing, I do have a massive criticism to every single YouTuber talking about the algorithm, almost. A lot of them fail to understand it, because a lot of them are actually in the position of either being really unaware that actually the algorithm is not as, I wouldn't say as bad, but it's a little bit like saying, no, don't worry, the algorithm isn't racist. It hates you because you're poor. It's okay, but it's still oppressing me, that sort of thing. I'm not saying it isn't bad. I'm saying that it is bad not because it doesn't like you for who you are. It's just business. For example, left-wing YouTubers are like, oh, the algorithm, the YouTube doesn't like left-wing content. Actually, no. It's just that people don't really buy from left-wing content as much because they're not, as stupid and dense as people who watch conservative content and lap it up. You know what I mean? I'm saying is, if you're watching this video, you are unlikely to have bought a product because the ad was shown before it. So it means that the ad is worth less, because YouTube only makes money when you either watch the ad for a long period of time, which is around 30 seconds or the full ad, or you click on it. If you don't do any of those things, YouTube doesn't make any money. So then if you're someone who doesn't really click on ads and skips them as much as you can, then YouTube does not really make any money. As such, why would they pay me more? They wouldn't. They can't. And also, you know, they're not gonna promote you as much. Why would they promote you when they can promote another YouTuber who you will also click on, and that YouTuber will make a lot more money? And that's the thing there. That's where you see YouTubers who are, you know, who are of certain product styles. They're not necessarily, oh, this content advertisers pay more for. No, it's just literally viewers watch more ads, they click on more ads, they do all that because like, oh, cool thing, there you click on it. The one problem I would have is that the majority of YouTube ads that I get are like scammy ads. So like, if you're clicking on them, yeah, like why are you clicking on them? You know. Anyway, that's my point. I just have to one small critique of people who are talking about the algorithm. They oftentimes are quite wrong.
What? The algorithm often gets humanized as if it has its own goals and values. Emily Peterson calls these algorithmic personas in her master's thesis on the subject, and goes on to describe how the whimsical, irrational, and incomprehensible decisions of the algorithm affect creative freedom. In fact, perhaps, creativity itself. Now, is this thinking of the algorithm as a person, like a meanie?
I don't think that is too far off. Because realistically, what is an algorithm? But it's like if you took a group like of people and you're like, okay, here's this video. This video gets this many clicks. It gets this much money in advertisement money. It pulls this many people in for this many retention and all of this. And what will you give it? How much will you push it? How much will you push it after those things push in? How much all these things? And then they take it this. This is my result. Now, obviously, that would, of course, with humans, would take like minutes at least per an individual video. So what an algorithm is doing is saying, okay, I'll do all of that, and I'll do that simultaneously and in seconds, milliseconds, nanoseconds, do each one, and then have it across every single video. So you can do all this sort of mathematical processing. But at the end of the day, what is that? That's a human sort of construct of, okay, this is this human mathematical process, and it's an algorithm doing all those things. Now, of course, there's a massive problem, of course, with trying to make an algorithm do this, is that if you fuck it up and you put in the wrong numbers, or you work out the wrong mathematics, or whatever the case may be, you may not notice that. Because, if you're earning billions, you're still earning billions. And if you're constantly growing as a platform, then you're not going to notice that you actually dipped, because you didn't really dip. You dipped in the sense of like certain ways, but then you also increased viewers. So there's all this sort of issue here. Like sometimes you'll see this with YouTubers who will lose thousands of subscribers, but at the same time they'll also gain all more thousands. So that actually they didn't see a dip. But actually they did have a dip. Like a good portion of people did unsubscribe, but it's that another portion of people subscribed, and that causes this impression that actually what you did there was a smart thing, when in actual fact, no, it lost some people, and that spike would have happened anyway. So you shouldn't have done the thing. But you're not going to notice it, because every single time you get a spike, and you go, oh, look, it works. No, actually. It's another thing that's doing that.
Bobini with agency. Is that stifling our creativity more? Would a more pragmatic, grounded, and comprehensive understanding of a piece of software actually foster a greater space for creative freedom? Or a smaller one? Oh. We can break the functionality of the algorithm down in a way that's much simpler.
Well, to be fair, the algorithm is based off of making the most money possible. Once again, as I said, though, you can make mistakes. So you might think, well, this is how it should work, right? Like, surely, let's say, you watch my video. But my videos have a remarkable ability to keep you watching on YouTube. So maybe you don't watch the full video. Maybe my video isn't very interesting to you, but I'm able to keep you watching. So you click on the next video, and you click on the next video, you click on the next video. Let's say you watch 4 more videos than you usually would because you watch my video. In that case, while my video itself is not generating any revenue for YouTube because there's no ads in it, or very little ads because you're a left-wing person, you don't really like, because you're like, you just don't really click on the ads. I don't know, maybe I'm supposed to bad ads. Point is, right, you watch more videos. So that means it is worth a lot more. But of course, is that involved in an algorithm? There's all these things where like, that should be in an algorithm, surely. That would generate more profit. But does it? Is it actually in there? So I think the problem is thinking the algorithm is making decisions for random reasons. It's not. It's making decisions that will generate the most money. Does it make mistakes? I would say yes. There are so many factors that you can use to generate money that you wouldn't even think of until you actually go deep down into it. And at that point, it's like, well, is that more important than the other thing? Are you then? But then there's competitive spaces. In an individual viewer's eye, there's only so many boxes you can put a video in to say, oh, watch this video. And you will have to decide that as the algorithm. I say you, of course. Yeah.
And more complex. It functions in a similar way to the Google algorithm, in that it prioritizes things that already have a lot of clicks and things that are connected to things that already have a lot of clicks. It's user-focused, so it wants to place the right video for you on your YouTube homepage, and then recommend the right video after that and after that, so that your experience is passive and
yeah, but that's the point though. If my video doesn't have any ads in it, but the videos all after that do, and I'm able to keep moving for longer, surely that means that my video is worth more, because it's effectively got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 ads in front of it, because in actual fact, because you're able to keep that person watching it for longer. That's the thing. I'm not saying my videos do that. I'm pretty sure they just kill people off the
straightforward, and you don't have to click away from the YouTube time. So, as creators, how do we create connections to things that already have a lot of clicks? Well, we make videos about them. Videos about videos, videos about movies, videos about political events, videos about people. You know the old quote, Eleanor Roosevelt. It goes, great minds discuss ideas, average minds discuss events, small minds discuss people. So, well, actually, it probably wasn't Eleanor. Sorry, Eleanor. The actual closest quote seems to be from Charles Stewart in a 1901 autobiography, where he attributes...
To be fair, like, there is a lot of theft, but then there's also a lot of times, like, some people are like, no, I didn't say this. Like, and Eleanor said this. It's like, but I didn't... It's like, you know, even in the moment, people are writing it down as if they said it. And it's like, you know, anyway. Because someone says something, it doesn't mean they came up with it.
To a history scholar by the name of Buckle.
Yeah.
That quote goes, men and women range themselves into 3 classes or orders of intelligence. You can tell the lowest class by their habit of always talking about persons. The next, by the fact that their habit is always to converse about things. The highest, by their preference for the discussion of ideas.
That means I'm the highest of this.
And I don't know about you, but I don't want to belong to the highest order of intelligence.
Well.
Head empty, lovely dimples. Or the highest class, whichever. Fuck off. Class is for BBC
Yeah, to be fair.
pundits and transphobes. My ambition is to be humane and funny, to belong to the most benevolent and helpful category of person. And if that's my ambition, then
they do appear to have like a good comprehension on the YouTube algorithm that I think a lot of creators fail to have. It's, once again, as I said, it is a failure of having success and people insisting it must be that they did something right. They can't be handed on a plate. They either must have, and this is not all of them, some are like, oh, I stumbled into it, I was very lucky. But they don't oftentimes want to admit what gave them that position. That is often a thing they just can't manage. Because it is very difficult, if you have a successful career, to just sort of realize that no, it doesn't matter how hard you work, it doesn't matter how hard you do these things. You might think you know an algorithm, but how can you know? Tomorrow an algorithm could change its code and boom, you'll still have success because you're already famous. But when you spout a bunch of stuff about how you did this and then that resulted in this, you're wrong. And even if you're not wrong, how do you know? You can never know. Because there could be a small section of code at the end that says, well, if this, then no, it's invalid. Which means all you need to do is just do that one thing and it's invalid. The point is there's all remedy of different things. Anyway, it's just, yeah, there is a level where it's like, you know.
I can quite honestly admit that people talking about people is normal.
Yeah.
It's fine. Sometimes it's really quite good, actually.
Yeah.
We don't want to abolish gossip. What would happen to Kaylin?
I saw mainly Mandy dancing with the devil.
No, we're looking at videos about people, and we're just asking questions. We're just engaging in debate. The word dunk according to Urban Dictionary, can be defined as big ass, apple bottom, round booty. Nice, okay, but also to come in your hand and, oh god, I'm not going to use Urban Dictionary.
Yeah, I mean,
You know what dunking is. It's this.
The intellectual champion of the right is, by contrast, a holy man arguing with a dead.
I mean, the thing is that the majority of people who claim to be religious are, in actual fact, and when I say religion, I mean like specifically, like they say, I'm a Christian. It's like, no, you're not, though. You're not a Christian. You decided to take the majority of Christian ideology and go, and ignoring those bits, though, I don't think those bits work. So for me, leave those bits. No, but I'm a Christian, guys. What? That's okay, but like, then I'm a Christian as well. Because I believe in some of the ideologies of the Christian religion, not all of them, so does that make me a Christian? No, it doesn't. I'm not going to go out saying I'm a Christian because I do disagree with some of the things within Christianity. Not all of them, but some of them. So if that's the case, then I can't sit there and go, oh, I'm a Christian though. No, but you're not. A religion, you cannot pick and choose. Because if you pick and choose, then you are, in effect, defying the religion. You are saying, no, that's wrong. Then you're not a Christian because you're deciding for yourself. And in that case, why not think a little bit further?
Guy on the anniversary of his murder and doing it badly.
And it's also this.
The parenting advice that PragerU advocates for is legitimately absolutely f***ing bonkers.
That's the whole rest of the video is just going to be this. And it's this.
Sell their houses to who, Ben? Fucking Aquaman!
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
But it's also this.
What happened to the fabled empathy of women, Kathy?
This.
The aging rocker's diatribe fell so flat that Spotify didn't...
You know, at times I wonder, when you're making millions, do you think maybe it is a good idea to buy a microphone and a good camera? Because it's just a thought, because like, you know, if that's your job, but it isn't a job that pays you much money, it makes sense, right? You can't just be splurging out, spending thousands of dollars on camera gear and microphones. But if you're making millions, you can. And by the way, I don't necessarily mean you're making millions. I mean someone who's employing you is making millions. My point is, Paul? Is it? I don't know. I don't really know. But anyway, I think it's Paul. I'm gonna run with that. It's probably Paul. If it's not, it's something like that. Anyway, I'm just saying, Paul, maybe just get a better quality setup. Because, I mean, I'm not going to say that the average person should get a better quality setup. That's just mean, you know. It's like, get a better quality setup with your money that you won't make back. But no, I'm just saying, it looks bad. Please, can the millionaires out there, if they're going to be on media, just get some good quality stuff. You're wealthy, and you're on media. Can you just make yourself look a little bit, you know, just increase quality a little bit? Just closer to realism.
Didn't even bother to respond in any way at all. But he did enjoy the support of COVID bedwetters and censorship freaks on Twitter.
What's this?
If you have a case of abuse, you bring it forward. She obviously didn't believe that she had a case for abuse.
Ah, well, don't worry, Stephen. I'm sure that your wife will change her mind now. But, you know, it's okay, Stephen, if you want to, you know, emotionally and maybe physically abuse people, I would be wary whom.
This.
You know, as far as takedown videos go, I've had some good ones, I've had some bad ones, but this one's probably one of the worst. Some boy called Loner Box.
It's a great story if you're on the far right.
There is a will at play, Eric, and the problem with this will is that it's quite nefarious, and the people manifesting
It's unfortunate, English people. Anyway.
it are actually open and explicit about what their intentions are.
I like that he keeps mentioning my name. That's how I know he's about to say something important.
It's a sort of endless tit for tat, tat for...
You know, sorry to all the Americans and English people out there, but sorry. Ah, well, maybe it's just me.
Tit competition of talking shit, and there will never be a winner. It's sort of like soccer that way, kind of. It's like if soccer games took place one team at a time in their home stadium to their home crowd, and the opponents find out about it afterwards, and then they play their own solo game to their own home crowd.
We won it.
Ever agrees that the final whistle is ever final.
We won
Which
it.
is fine.
We won it, though.
It's fun.
We got more goals against ourselves. But how does that work under opinion though? Facts, you see, work. And even then it's a bit dubious because, well, yes, but does that make you right? The fact that that person is wrong? You know, it doesn't though, does it? It's like, well, actually, it's 44.5%. So there we go. And you say the moon landing is real. It's like, yeah, no, it was though. It doesn't invalidate that fact. I was wrong. It does not invalidate me saying you're wrong. That's not how. Anyway,
it's a way to spend eternity. I suppose when it comes to this question of creative freedom or the options available to the creator in making their work, reaching an audience, paying their bills, and making an impact.
I mean, to a certain extent, at a certain point, you are more than paying your bills. You are generating a lot of revenue. You know, if I'm making a ton of videos, well, that could be one of two reasons. Either I want to make all these videos, three reasons really. Two, I am able to pay the bills by making all these videos, or three, it just makes a ton of money that I just, you know, it's really valuable, you know? Sort of like constant
perhaps
money
dunking
generation.
Is,
so
if not artless, then maybe a bit one note.
Yeah.
And it may be that it's not every creator's favorite kind of content to make. Maybe some of them actually don't like dunking at all. But rather than sitting here standing like a sitting duck, hacking through whole complex aspects of human interaction and technology and culture and saying, thing bad, and we must put an end to the dunking, it's a toxic. We might be better served to not blame a singular thing, like the algorithm, or a lower class of person, or right-wingers. That would be reductive and silly, because it's actually all capitalism's fault.
Well, let's get into the video. Part 2. To be fair, YouTube would not exist without capitalism in the sense of the word, in the way it is structured, because it's entirely structured based off of advertisements, which is, you know, is kind of very much tied with capitalism. Like, you do have advertisements that are like, our product exists and it's really good. Objectively, it's not us saying that, it just is good, and you don't know about it. So there. But most advertisers are like, how about you buy a product? Our product actually, you know, our product it's you should try our product. You know, you should really get our product. So the thing is, our product / service it's like it's a thing that you would like. I'm sure you'd like this. But by the way, you know, you can sign up for my course, and if you give me loads of money, if you like sign up for the course, and then I'll do the things. And then you got all the sort of side things, which is like, we'll give you money off of the products you buy. Don't be a little bit concerned as how we reduce the prices. It's not like we could collect your spending patterns and sell that information off to the highest bidder. It's not like, you know, one of the main tools that did that, I'm talking about Honey, you know, was like, yeah, we track all of your spending patterns, and then they, you know, got apparently bought up by PayPal. So I wonder what that would be. It just seems like maybe that was, you know, them acquiring a lot of purchasing decisions information. Like, how do they have so much money to begin with to start giving you all these deals and also paying so many YouTubers and all that sort of stuff? It just seems weird to me, you know? Like, if they have all that money, then surely there must be a way of generating money. All I'm saying is that at the end of the day, to spend money on advertisements, you either, you know, have to have someone who's like, okay, we want to inform people of this, or else you have to be like, no, we'll make it back, because they'll give us more money than it cost us to make. That's a roundabout way of saying, I'm not sure if it can exist without capitalism.
Real bad at basketball. Oh.
The LA Summers.
Oh! So, let's try and imagine a YouTube.com that exists without capitalism.
Tough.
How? It's pretty hard. We instantly have a choice in this thought experiment. Do we want our YouTube to exist in a world that never had capitalism, never had feudalism, just a convenient alternate history, which is perfectly egalitarian and utopian and comes fresh with that minty, decolonized fragrance?
Or we posit a YouTube that exists somehow outside of or after capitalism, one that has either abolished or outsmarted certain constraints of capitalism. even if it isn't fully free of all of the pernicious habits or ideologies.
So if we take a look at alternate YouTube A,
Okay.
the one where
This is
capitalism
interesting.
never existed, and let's say for convenience sake that it also wasn't created in the hyper-individualistic, hyper-competitive American mold. I mean, what is America without capitalism? This YouTube we're imagining is...
I mean, if I would find it, I'm sorry to interrupt, but like, you know, I would find it very interesting actually. It had, you know, the likes of, had you seen, you know, the likes of the Native Americans, how they've been able to defeat the Europeans, and just like the Europeans had gone, we'll attack you, and then they were like, oh, you thought that those were our only weapons, the bows? No, we have guns at the back. We just didn't tell you about them. They're actually machine guns. And then all the Europeans were to die. I think that would have been interesting because then you'd have had America that was very different, you know? I'm just saying that would be a very alternative history if the Native Americans were able to, you know, remove the Europeans. Anyway, sidetrack, but I'm just saying if that would be the American mold, but it would be a different America without capitalism, because it wouldn't have had the European.
Perfect. It's kind and it's non-competitive, and it exists as simply a repository of art and social interaction and fandom. While this YouTube, US-tube, might be fun to imagine, it's also kind of near impossible. Very difficult anyway. What would that be like? Let's see. There are no ads. That's good. Maybe there's no view count. There's no view count in art galleries after all. And if you look at an example of the nearest equivalent...
What?
Take a public service broadcaster, something like the BBC. And if you look at an example of the nearest equivalent, take a public service broadcaster, something like the BBC, even though they receive their money through television license fees, which is essentially public tax money, they still exist under a capitalist
And RTE in Ireland gains like money from ads
system
as
and
well.
compete with broadcasters that do have commercial models. They constantly have to prove that they're worth the money and increasingly exist under the threat of being privatized. In fact, Channel 4, the British broadcaster which currently has a blended revenue model of public funding and advertising revenue, is actively being sold by the British government as we speak.
I think they stopped that because, you know, like, oh wait, our idea is it'll give more opportunities for British filmmakers and people like that. Except if we do this, then they'll only greenlight the shows that have the most commercial value, i.e. the shit ones. So it won't be that anymore because that's fucking stupid. How does that make any sense? Like, yeah, you know, famously under capitalism, we take loads of risks when they most definitely will not work out. No, that's not what you do at all. No, why would you do that as a business? You'd collapse the media company if you did that. Unless you'd revenue from the public. And you revenue from other media that was like supporting that media. You know? I'm just saying there have been a lot of good shows that have been made that didn't do very well, didn't make their money back. And they wouldn't have been greenlit under other circumstances. But yeah, they're good though, you know? They're never going to make the money back, but like they're good. So if people actually watch them, that's a good thing. You know?
Which is an
BBC, I'd say, is worse.
Inevitable consequence of neoliberal policy.
Like, also, one small thing, the BBC has a very, very interesting right-wing outlook. I don't know if I've talked about this in the past, but like, I remember watching a BBC show where it was like a show where this person's like, you know, I'm not sure. So it's like pushing basically having a child, and it's like, oh, I don't think I can be with you if we don't have a child, and stuff like this. And you're like, what is that kind of a message sending to somebody? Like, oh, you know, you won't have a proper relationship if you don't have a child. That's a thing that the BBC apparently believes. It's just it was sorry. I'm not describing this very well, but like, very, very profoundly weird and very concerning to me that was what they're presenting that as if it was like a necessity and all this. Like, okay, but like, why? And then it's like, well, they might be adopting, so that's fine. It's like, okay, but why can they not? Why can they just not have a child? You know, why do you insist that they must have a child? You know, that the person grows and is like, well, it's okay to adopt, I guess. Okay, but why not just not have a child to begin? Like, isn't that a thing you can do? You know? Anyway. Sorry for interrupting. They just talk about how the BBC is.
They're going to present all of this as a defense of the British people against woke culture, groupthink, and the elites. Oh, you wonderful Tory, scummy, bummy, cunty bunties. The point there is that the BBC, for now...
I'm just saying the BBC is a right-wing entertainment business as well. You cannot fucking tell me the BBC is left-wing in its entertainment division. It's right-wing, I say right-wing to being centrist in its news and current events and politics shows, and it is right-wing in its entertainment. Now, sometimes it has some things which are like, you know, sort of left-wing, but also not. It's like, you know, the characters are gay. Yeah, but they're still super right-wing for some reason, which I don't know why, but, you know, apparently they have, like, internalized homophobia, yet they are out and out. Okay, weird. But anyway, it's just weird sort of stuff you have in the BBC, and I don't particularly like it as a company.
May have its direct line of funding from the people and a direct remit to inform, protect, and benevolently entertain them. But, you know, come on. In reality, they exist in a money-hungry, class warfare, racist, bigoted, aristocratic, transphobic shithole called the United Kingdom, although it does have some very good vegan restaurants. And so they absolutely engage in their fair share of gossip, sensationalizing, clickbaiting, and dunking. There's no precedent, particularly for a large-scale, functional, non-capitalist publisher in this world. Al Jazeera is privately owned. RTL is privately owned. Vimeo. Remember Vimeo? Vimeo is also privately owned. And right now, Google is scanning your retinas to see whether you're more susceptible to the Apple ad or the Disney Plus ad. Capitalism...
Yeah. I mean, not... Right. Well, seriously. Did you
So many of our clients feel so defective. And it may not even be a conscious feeling, but it's implicitly there.
Sorry.
It is going to impact.
So apparently not an Apple or Disney ad. As I said before, I get some weird ads. Ads that I do not agree with. Also, one side thing, by the way, Google, I made a video. It may not be released yet, but I made a video on like media, and I clicked on. I looked up like a company. And the company didn't come up, so I clicked on the first like search term that wasn't like a sponsored thing, and yeah, Google gave me a particular type of media website that I wasn't interested in. Thank you for that, Google. That was very helpful of you. Not stop fucking doing that. That's disgusting. Like what? Don't do that.
Capitalism has a relationship with the conditions that foster.
I want to make this very clear. I'm not talking about. I'm talking about Google.
Competition. But I would argue that we're so in it that we can't, as objective observers, examine each discrete manifestation of competition and say that that wouldn't exist without capitalism. In YouTube's case, that goes for view counts, accolades, parasocial pseudo-cults, and the kind of content we are encouraged to produce.
See,
but culture, as well as...
I'm not sure if, once again, I'm not sure if they're open bad, but like, have you noticed that like Mr. Beast videos have been leaning into becoming more adult-like? Like there's more adult content being introduced, and all this, and it just feels like it's a kind of move from a person who realizes if you try and make content for children, and I don't mean like it's content for children, I mean like it's made in a way that is directed towards children, as if your audience are children, not necessarily, oh, this is children's content. You're going to cause a problem because when those children grow up, they will want to distance themselves away from the content that makes them feel like children because they want to feel like an adult. And maybe they'll return to that when they're like middle-aged or even just when they're in their late 20s. But for a while, you will have a period where they will drop you because they do not want to feel that way. So it does feel as if that is the kind of content that certain people are encouraged to produce, where they're trying to move their audience, move along with their audience. And that, like, I think that's what a lot of authors do. That's what, like, a lot of authors do, which is, you know, they'll realize, oh, my audience is made up of 11-year-olds. They won't be 11-year-olds for life, though. So, 5 books from now, I'm going to have someone get brutally tortured. Anyway, back to the video. That's a high point, isn't it, to end off?
Capitalism has a very real bearing on what gets produced by a culture under capitalism, which actions are performed by the individuals of a culture. There's some evidence that cultures which are more collectivist, here specifically Japan and Brazil, tend to be better at team sports than individualist cultures like Great Britain or the United States. People from more collectivist and
don't call it Great Britain, though.
Egalitarian societies tend
tend to be better at the dynamic and cooperative skills needed for a successful team.
I'm just saying, all I'm hearing is like, the United Great Britain. It's like I'm hearing some prick from the UK. By the way, specifically the fact that they're... No, what I'm saying is that I'm hearing someone who's like, you know, giving themselves a grand name, you know. It's like, don't just like, you know, it's okay, but Britain is the idea of both all the countries together, and then... Isn't that just an imperialistic term? You know?
Were their individual counterparts. People from the US, one of the most individualist countries, tend to favor sports where there are breakout stars and more important roles. This is part of the reason that relatively few people in the States keep up with the most popular sports globally. Football, soccer. Globally, they're pretty rubbish at soccer.
Except for the women's team, we're the best in the world.
Wonder why that is. Well, women tend to score higher on various measures of collectivism than men do in general. And
I would also say there's a certain level where it's going to sound bad, when you have sexism in society, it tends to chuck away something. But of course, that can result in it actually being better because people are actually they're not like, oh, let's make this into something like that so that's really pop motivated. Because if you want to make the women's sports really, really want to make the most money out of it, well, you put it on primetime slots. You wouldn't treat it as inferior. You wouldn't be like, well, no, that's not going on our platform because people won't watch it. But people won't watch it because we don't give it to them. So then, how will they begin to watch it? You know, like, don't be a fucking idiot. Why people are a fan of a sports team? Like, the concept of football or soccer is kicking around a ball of rubber that was once a pig's bladder. That's the concept of the game. It's a relatively simple game. Now, obviously, scale-wise, that's when it begins to become a little bit more complicated because now you're pitting against someone who has skill. How do you counteract that skill? How do you tackle? How do you do all these things? And all those things, that's when you actually have skill. But it isn't actually complicated on its own. You know, like, the majority of people can play football or soccer, you know. So that's the thing, you know. So the majority of people can play it. Doesn't necessarily mean they're good at it, but, you know, what I'm saying is that that's the sort of thing you have there. Now, that's the point. When you ignore that, when you push it to the side, you do create a sort of a semi-situation where, as has been said, you do get better people because the people involved are not there to make money necessarily. They're there because they are good at it and enjoy it. You know?
On the American team, they're all super queer too. If we stick with the analogy of sports, there's an argument that American sports tend to be more individualistic in the first place. Speaking as an Irish person who stayed up till 2 a.m. with my dad to watch the Super Bowl once, yeah, it's a pretty capitalist affair. It felt like those dudes were like dropping to the ground specifically to make more space for Pfizer ads. And this isn't fabricated or exaggerated.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think it's similar to the Eurovision and a couple of other events where, like, the ads, because it's so expensive to run ads, it's almost entertaining to watch the ads because if it's like, okay, I'm going to be spending $5 million on just putting this ad here. Why not just spend an additional $1 million to make it a good one? You know, instead of just being like, this product is really, really good, and I think it's really, really good, and I'm not a celebrity, I'm just a random person, so yeah, good product. This ad is going to cost $5 million to go out, so this is what we're working with. You know, it's unlikely to be the equivalent of a YouTube ad that's going to spend, like, I don't know, like, you know, 50 grand or something like that. But you kind of will get you, like, 10 million to 100 million views. So, you know, not views, impressions. But anyway.
Exaggerated culture shock. Here in Ireland, our indigenous sports are hurling and Gaelic football.
Hurling actually is similar to Scottish sport, so, you know.
These are fast-paced, high-risk ball games that are extraordinarily collaborative. And the best players in the world are farmers, delivery drivers.
Yeah, they're not paid.
Drivers,
although
civil engineers, butchers, carpenters. They don't get paid.
A lot of them are teachers.
To play. These are also very, very...
However, there's a small scandal about how it's happening, not around the country, but I think with certain areas where players were given things like credit cards, debit cards from the club. They were club money, and they were spending it. So, not officially paid, but some players were doing that. Not all players, though. There are players who are the most famous players who get deals from the likes of, you know, You have the likes of like a car dealership. Like, how about you drive our cars? And because you're gonna be like a celebrity. But like, unlike other celebrities who are already wealthy, these people are not already wealthy. So it's in this weird position. Like, some of them start businesses, and it's kind of weird. They start businesses because of celebrity status, but they don't make enough money necessarily off of it a lot of the time. And there's all these weird things here. Like, it's weird that the sort of culture of, you know, homegrown celebrities, shall I say, in Ireland, where a lot of like sports celebrities are not, they're not paid, but then they are able to make some money sometimes, but the majority of them are not, are actually teachers, interestingly. Not the majority, but a lot of them are. I think that was one of the most common
old
jobs.
sports, and arguably they come from a pre-capitalist time.
Yeah.
As a species, we've never been lazy, and we've always been very inventive about how to have a good time. And at least in terms of the cultures in question, Ireland, Europe, competition would seem to exist in various forms. The hurling champions, don't laugh please, by the way, we don't actually use the word hurling to mean puking, so have some fucking respect. The hurling champions may be unpaid and heroic for the sake of heroism, but there's also fierce competition between rival counties, between rival towns, rival tribes.
Mayo.
So are we, in fact, a tribal, gossipy, scapegoaty bunch by our very nature? Do we form social bonds more readily over having an outsider, a common enemy? Or is there actually nothing wrong with that? Is it approaching bullying? Well, if we look at alternate YouTube B, I actually have my own issues with alternate realities, so Sarah, why don't you take care of this one?
Here we could start with much more humble ambitions. We could look at a YouTube where, quite simply, they introduce universal basic income tomorrow. Now everyone can create, if they so wish. This is a YouTube which has escaped some of the conditions of capitalism that most...
But does it still have ads? Because I would say there's a massive issue on YouTube, which is the fact that the wealthy are... Generally on YouTube, the most popular people are extremely bad people. Like, some of them hide it. Some of them are like, oh yeah, she's a really good person. Okay. Yeah, I should have expected that, let's be honest. But like, you know, there's something like, it's very interesting actually. You should look up the most popular people and go, that's a company. That's a company. That's it. That's an actual Nazi. Okay, wow. Okay, jeez, these people are the word. Okay, that's propaganda. Okay, my God, the most popular people on YouTube are the worst. Like, you can go down the list, and the majority of them are just like objectively bad people. And when I'm not, and others are like just like, you know, maybe not objectively. Maybe you wouldn't think they're evil, but like I think they are. You know, but like, you know, it's like, yeah. You know, like when you start trying to sell things to your child audience, it's like, okay, but that would be illegal if you're a television program. Like, if you're a television program in a lot of countries, that would be illegal. You wouldn't be allowed to do that. You'd be most likely sued in some of them and fined.
Foster conflict, wage slavery, hustle culture, and competition of the lateral kind. It should be said that when we first started this YouTube channel, it was thanks in no small part to a temporary basic income scheme here in Ireland. Neil had just been forced by COVID to close their cafe, but that meant they were eligible for the pandemic unemployment payment. And for that brief period, they wrote a novel, recorded most of a record, and we started a YouTube channel together. Because UBI will not result in laziness, I promise you. Art, like sports...
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't make much sense, to be honest. But like, yeah, it'll run laziness, because then... Okay, in stupid people maybe, but like... How? I mean, I guess if you just... I would say, though, to be fair, some people... I wouldn't call that laziness, though. I'd call that unmotivation. And it's a bit of a thing like, yeah, without UVI, they'll just die of a heart condition that they don't know they have. Because they'll keep pushing themselves. So is it laziness, or is it them taking the time they should take? Because if they don't, they'll have a heart attack. I think, you know, there's all these sort of things here where it's like, yeah, but if you don't have it, then, well, maybe if you just introduce and leave it at that, okay, maybe. But like, if you introduce other things alongside it, like, you know, showing that you don't just have to follow the crowd, you don't just have to be a little sheep, you don't just have to, you know, do all those things. You can do other things because you have this, because you have universal basic income. You don't have to just be like, well, do this. Why? Well, because you have to, because that's the way you earn money. Yeah, tough. You could earn money other ways, but you don't have the opportunity. You don't, specifically you. But now you do. Now, if you have universal income, you do. So now you're able to do those things. Yeah. I don't think necessarily you can just leave it at universal income. You do need to.
It's just something we do.
Give people more
Humans like to do things.
information.
Now that payment in reality wasn't really enough to survive, so they did go and get a real job and kept YouTube as a means of getting out of poverty, as well as a means of self-expression. Thankfully, Patreon took off enough that one of us, not me, could be supported in full-time content creation. But doesn't it make you curious about the relationship between a basic income and the sort of art we feel it's okay to make?
I mean, I feel that in actual, like, I don't think I should ever be able to make this a full-time job or even a part-time job, because what am I doing here? I've said this before in the past, but what am I doing here? I'm just watching a video, and then I'm obviously, I don't think anyone will actually enjoy this, but I'm watching a video and then being like, oh, this is me watching the video. It is the equivalent of a very boring vlog. If I'm gaming and I'm playing a game, even if I edit out all the boring bits, you're still just watching me living my life. Whether it's fantastically entertaining and it's really someone who's really rich and they have a fantastic life that is in your eyes at least, you know, or someone who's just watching a video. Either way, you're just watching somebody else live their life. And sure, maybe they have some interesting things to say, but like, you've wasted an hour of your time watching this video. Is that it? You wasted an hour watching this video? An hour you could be spending thinking yourself, an hour you could be... So the question is, really, what value is any YouTuber providing, truly? I would say that I don't provide any value in this video, at least. I might provide value if I talk about, you know, advertising or whatever the case may be on my other channel. That should be linked in the description. Or not, I don't know. You know, but the point is that might be the case. But I think the leftist cooks, they are providing, you know. You can see that, like, they're providing content that is informative, is educational, is valuable in the progression of a human mind. If you're just an ignorant person, I'm not saying you're stupid, I'm saying you're ignorant. There's a difference between the two. You just don't know things. Then yes. But what happens when that thing that you're learning is a nonsense fact? Celebrity information is not really anything. It's just, okay, but what's the difference between me knowing about, you know, Taylor Swift and me knowing about, like, Johnny down the road? Well, what's the difference? The fact that one person is famous? But why are they famous? Because society decided they would be. Okay. You know. When you see the majority of art is not actually educational. It's educational in a sort of a lacking way. Like, okay, yeah, but I kind of already knew that. And then that stuff is just like, it's educational. I mean, it's kind of a random fact. Like, I don't really need to know that, you know? And I don't really gain joy of that, really. Like, I have happiness, I guess, but it's more that it's like flashy and sort of like, ooh, cool, you know, but you're not actually really knowing anything. You're being pacified. And even in the majority of education, you're being pacified. Left-wing content is often this sort of thing of, oh, don't you worry, there are people who are like you, who think like you, who you know, want there to be change. But will you actually do anything? Because if everyone is like you and does nothing, what will change? Exactly. What do you expect will change if nobody does anything to try and make change? Things will stay the same, or those who will want to change things, who are the right-wing ones, will succeed. And if you're a right-wing person, that's great for you, but left-wing person, you're doing nothing. But let's say you do act, but you act too late. You act in an attempt to push back the fact. But now you created a blockade. You're not pushing forward, you're simply trying to block them from pushing back. That's, yeah, you know, it's just...
Certain cultural habits and, let's face it, enjoyable aspects of contemporary life would persist, even if all the creator's basic needs were met. Culture is, after all, mimicking the ways of moving through the world that you see around you. Monkey see, monkey donkey. But I think, and that's the great thing about YouTube essays, I can just say I do not miss academia at all.
Yeah, my God.
I think that a certain kind of dunking content would be a lot less common. What might persist, and have a good reason to persist, is warning the community about dangerous individuals, whisper network styles of calling out, and battling against misinformation, snake oil salesmen, dog whistles, and brainwashing. But the kind of dunking that might grow less common is what you might call opportunistic dunking. That is jumping on someone who no one else has yet dunked on for a minor infraction. Let's take a streamer who, after 8 hours of talking nonstop and not really having the space to look things up and not really being too well informed in the first place, we can only be experts on so much, just talking and talking, they might find themselves saying something fucking wild.
Twink is a slur.
And the opportunistic dunker might say, oh, here is my opportunity to carve out an ecological niche for myself. No one else has picked on this person before. No one else has noticed the blood in the water. As anyone who's ever gotten into a fight with a partner knows, or anyone ever got into an argument with airport security, or has...
I would not advise that, especially in a foreign country, because it's like, yeah, don't you worry. Take them away. Yeah, your country's not really powerful enough to demand your release, so you'll be spending the next few years for terrorism in a cell. You know, it's I would not advise arguing with airport security in foreign countries. You know, they might be racist, is what I'm trying to say. Or just, you know, high pressured. Just like, why is this person arguing with me? You know, and you might be in the right, but it may not be obvious you're in the right, you know? So it looks as if they're in the right, you know. Anyway,
has ever had to fight their case in court or clean up the smearing of their reputation by an abusive ex. All those examples show that we find it a lot harder to be patient, compassionate, chill, and wise when the stakes are high.
Yeah.
Universal basic income would lower the stakes.
True.
It might also make dunking or reacting a less viable niche to carve out in the first place. So we might see less in the way of baby dunkers who want to establish themselves as the next Sargon of Akkad or Ben Shapiro.
I don't think that's possible. I think this is a problem. This is gonna sound weird, but I've reacted to somebody in the past who was like, "Oh, there's no such thing as a what was it again? What was it? A finite pool of impressions." I think what it was. And like, no, but there is though. It's called how many humans there are, and how many hours in the day they have. Like, okay, but like there is though. There is only so many YouTube videos you can have in your, you know, you can scroll past, you can see. There's only so many. Now, obviously, that many. There's still plenty to go, you might think. But like, if you think about it, no, though. Think about how many videos are on YouTube. If you count every single video, not every single channel, just every single video ever on YouTube, every single one, that is going to be a lot for somebody to choose from. So if I'm entering the space, am I really going to have the opportunity to dethrone Ben Shapiro? I don't know why any Ben Shapiro fan will be watching me, but anyway. For the information, fuck Ben Shapiro. Prick who I don't really understand how he may even manage to maintain his career in this space. Because, like, seriously. He's not a good right-winger. First of all, isn't he supposed to be Jewish? Which how does he manage to carve out himself with actual Nazis if he's Jewish? Anyway, and also, like, you know, not a good religious person. Just objectively, just ignores majority of religion. So any person who's really, truly religious will be like, no, I don't really like it. So how exactly does someone like that, and also not, like, conventionally, like, masculine. So, like, how does someone like that obtain, you know, success? Sorry, yeah, it's because the millions from investors. That's the one. Yeah, that's it. No, I actually think it's fracking. No.
Fewer subscribers than us, dunking on equally obscure leftist creators because it's a niche. It's whatever kind of inside-out praxis you feel compelled to do as a gender critical or a neoconservative cool kids rational atheist bro of the dark thought sphere or whatever the fuck. I think that would be rarer if the playing field is one that rewards teamwork. I think, in short, that either vision of YouTube, free of capitalism, would at the very least make the website less bloodthirst.
Yeah.
Let's just say it. It might prevent bullying.
Right, but does that mean that we wouldn't talk about each other? We wouldn't try and create those connections between my material and yours?
I mean, there is a certain extent where it's like, well, you know, like YouTube is very, very, very cautious about deleting content that is very successful in making money. In most cases, what it does is just demonetizes and just goes, yeah, you can continue to grow though, because, well, you know, you may be demonetized, but the videos you're leading to aren't, and you are leading to videos.
We wouldn't gossip. We wouldn't have in-groups or out-groups.
Fuck no. Fuck no.
But that's the thing, though. Like, if it's not monetized, then how do you demonetize? How do you punish someone who is a person who is doing that? You know, who is using a platform to spread hate? You know, they want to spread hate. That's the thing. You know, that's their ideology. They may have universal basic income. Well, I mean, some of them may just reject it. It's like, I burn my universal basic income. See, universal income, I burn it on a regular basis. Universal basic income burning stream. Donate to my Patreon because I did burn my universal basic. That would be interesting. I mean, how many people would just be like publicly, like, you know, just throwing it away? Like, no, I won't accept. Because that's the thing. Like, when you bring in a policy that's like, oh no, here's things to help you. It's like, I don't want. Like, what do you do? I'd say actually the majority of them would be like, no, I'm against it. It's like, did you cash your check? I don't know what you're talking about. What you mean? What you mean, like? But like, how do you spend your money? I mean, like, how did you spend the money you were given? Universal basic income. How do you spend that? You know, just ignoring the fact that they get it themselves. So like, what did they do? You know, it's a weird thing when people are hypocritical, but like, you know, in that sense where it's like ignoring it, but also like.
I think we'd have in-groups and out-groups. I think some people would still be kind of mean to each other. Here, I'll explain.
I mean, because you wouldn't be different people. You just be people who don't have as much capitalism. You know?
Well, it's complicated. With behavioral science, we can examine how people act in wild situations, but they're always still people who have been raised in cultures, often in the global north. So as always, here's your warning for grains of salt. We can't say what is or isn't human nature. We can only observe the humans we have now. So,
yeah,
I'm gonna add.
I would say that's the thing. Although I would also say, like, there's the whole thing of like, what brings down communism? Generally, it's greed. But that doesn't mean that human nature would be greedy. But the problem is, if you've got one human who's greedy, one human who's murderous, one human who is a racist, they don't care about hurting others. They don't care about pushing others down. So that means that what you do when you have that one person, because that one person can rot a barrel, because not even that they would spread their ideology, but the fact that if I'm a person who's willing to hurt you, surely then I'm willing to push you down and crush you, and then crush the person, and then crush the person, and crush the person, and rise to the top because of a disregard for caring about others and all that. That means that greed for power, for money, whatever the case may be, that doesn't need to be human nature. That just needs to be in one or a few human beings, and those human beings who disregard others, who don't care about others, who do care about others themselves, they will be able to rise and crush that system, because who will stop them? Who will stop them? You know?
100 grams of vegan butter to my bowl.
Vegan butter? What's...
A very established bit of sociological and psychological literature focuses on in-groups and out-groups, and one of the quickest ways to get a group to form, to make an us, is to have a them. Because we've all got individual identities, but to make those identities into salient group identities, it helps to have a threat. And now I'm gonna measure 2/3 of a cup of flour and then add it to my bowl. If being queer, for example, was fully culturally normalized, if you were a big queer person in a big queer relationship surrounded by big queer people in a big queer city where big queer was the default, you might not feel very big queer. I mean, it's hard to imagine the situation, but if you're straight, you've probably never really felt straight. Never felt like, yes, finally an affirmation of my straightness.
I mean, maybe in some countries where like you're like, where you are fed like an ideology. It's like, they're like, I'm a proud straight person. That's who I am. Like, straight pride, boys. Cause like, wait, no, not boys, girls. That that makes no. I'm, that sort of thing. There, it's like, okay, but like, no, you're not a because kind of some people do feel that way. Doesn't mean they are, but like they do feel that way mostly because people are telling them to.
Identity will have low salience. If you're a queer person walking around a new city with your queer partner, unsure if you're safe, you're going to feel very fucking queer. Very aware of your queerness, very aware of your ability to wear the clothes you want, to hold hands with your partner. And if you've got public figures calling for your eradication, you're going
That's not great at this.
To have a whole group feeling queer, feeling salience in their identity at the same time. Finally, I'm adding 1/3 of a cup
Hmm.
of castor sugar to the bowl.
It's very,
A
very
threat
little sugar.
make
Not
group
very
members
sugary.
like each other more, both for established and new groups. It increases cooperation and
Mhm.
helping. Even groups who are enemies seem to downplay their standard categorization when there is a common threat. So we're
Yeah.
leftists and we're online and we're messily trying to create change. We're trying to get people to see that the world around them can be improved and life can be different.
I mean, that makes sense though, because you'll end up trying, like, because if you try and do infighting when you're actually fighting a threat, you'll soon find that that threat is not going to be addressed. Even if it's a racist one, even if you're a racist, you'll soon find that you will either, collapse your entire movement, or you'll succeed, but then because of that underlying thing, the movement will continue on. Let's say you're a bit hateful towards a group, and then you come together and you murder another group. And then during that time, you try and oppress that group, and that group is like, okay. And then you continue on, and you murder that group. And the other smaller group you also partnered up with to murder the first one. And so on and so on and so on. That's how you sort of get a sort of like a fascist person, a Nazi person, who's sort of going through the list. Because, most fascist people are not the most intelligent. They don't seem to realize, will you be there at the end? Will you be the safe one at the end? Will you be the final? Will you be part of that group at the end? Or will you be part of those bodies on the floor? Most likely, the ones on the floor. Because that's the way.
Trying to get people to band together with others from different classes and races and social groups in order to have the necessary capacity to fucking change this thing.
Yeah.
And we all know, at least implicitly, one really good way of doing that. Make fun of Jordan fucking Peterson. So if we've abolished capitalism and we have YouTube...
I mean, Jordan Peterson is a bit sad, seriously.
Still dunk? I don't know, probably. I don't think abolishing capitalism is going to create a utopia. In the very least, I don't think it'll ever be fully safe from occasional grifters trying to take it back. Not to mention all of the existing group biases, racism, sexism, transphobia, Islamophobia.
And, the fact that even in a society without capitalism, is it communist? Can you still obtain status? Because if you still obtain status, some people, they don't necessarily want wealth. They want to be liked. They want to be known. And this can be subconscious. This can be just addicted to being liked. Addicted to it. Ooh, keep going, keep going, keep going. You never want to lose that. To ensure you never lose that. Keep going with the bigger thing, the bigger thing, the bigger thing. Keeping it going, keeping the wheel turning.
On and on, which we can't pretend will just evaporate when we decide to live in a more egalitarian society. So even without that functionally evil corporate algorithm, which does not care if you're advocating for utopia or literal Nazis...
See, the thing is, that's where I disagree. It does care. It does care. See, if you can get your little Nazi to buy your hair gel or your shaver or any of these other things, then you can gain money off of them. You can gain resources off them. You can do all that. So, what I'm trying to say is I don't think necessarily that that's true. I think if you are, advocating for Nazism, and you can obtain, it's like, yes, and you can, the ad before, and today, buy your own home Holocaust generator. Oh, God, that's not very nice. What I'm saying is, I'm using an extreme, obviously, but, there are certain products which are advertisable to certain people who would buy it, and, Nazis are kind of stupid, really. Let's be honest, they kind of are. Like, there are obviously some intelligent Nazis, but the majority of Nazis are stupid. Conservatives, people who are mid-right, not so much, but the majority, actually, I take that back. Even then, the majority of people who are very stupid, and that's something there because they themselves will eventually, in most cases, fall down the hole. But the point is, though, is that they'll still buy its products. So I don't necessarily think that that's fair. Utopia doesn't sell stuff. Because Utopia sells change.
We might still be tempted to dunk, to make fun of a representative
No,
of one group.
I'm not saying that just like I'm saying it does sell stuff, but, not to intelligent people, or even, when I say intelligent people, I mean people with basic intelligence. Basically, people who aren't stupid, you know. What I'm trying to say is when you see a company that says, "Oh, come here and pay us money and we'll grow some trees," why wouldn't I just give that to a charity or a foundation that actually doesn't spend a ton of money on advertising, you know? Because if you do that, surely that's better. But when you put that person there who's for profit, you're selling me something, and you get money for that. So.
Because of existing biases, or as a way to overcome them. The problem is, for the most part, this isn't something we do intentionally, I don't think. This seems to be implicit, useful but implicit. We're not identifying an enemy to draw ourselves together. We know that enemy.
Yeah, the thing is though, is that, sorry for interrupting. So, returning back to the video.
This class, but that's a little vague. You know who isn't vague and intractable? Ben Shapiro, Tony Robbins, Anna Mardell. There's another way of forming and strengthening the sorts of social bonds that underlie group identities. Emotional disclosure. Telling people how you feel, good or bad. Announcing that you finally graduated from your degree. Looking for support when you feel lost after a breakup. Telling people the embarrassing thing you did in 3rd grade. Emotional disclosure, intentional vulnerability if you like, is an alternate way to create an us. One which doesn't rely on a them. The thing is, dunking might stand in the way of that. We can all point to the people who have been canceled for minor transgressions. Remember Lindsay Ellis's Mask Off video, where she contextualized and apologized and explained every single stray comment she'd made over her decade-long career online? She was meaning canceling with emotional disclosure.
The problem, of course, is that, when someone says cancelled, and then you see, they meant they make slightly less money, and then many of them go on to make far more money. So by cancel, they mean like just not as successful as they were. That is what we would call, being full of yourself. Like, what, you dare to say I must have a lower position because you no longer like me? No, you must like me. You must. You must. Wait. So is the person misinterpreting? Are they lying about you? Because if they're not lying about you, then surely you're not being cancelled. You're just no longer wanted. That means everyone leaves you. Well, is that in any way misinterpreted? Is that in any way taken out of context? So there's not. Then sure, you may think of that as a minor transgression. It's basically nothing. It's like, yeah, but that's not what people are taking it as. So I don't like to say tough, but like that is sort of the way people are sort of taking it, So when you see very successful people, and you may say, well, they're not very successful, but they are, let's be honest. They're able to maintain quite a level of wealth. That's not good. That's not good at all. That's this sort of return to this sort of, acting style thing. So if the corporation will pay you, that sort of stuff is not good. Sort of guaranteed to have a job no matter what you do is not good, And thinking that you deserve that, you don't. So, what do you mean by cancellation? I have to ask, because the majority of people who are cancelled are not cancelled. Shut the fuck up. Stop talking if you're going to be like that. Because you know full well there are some people in this world who actually are cancelled. And you don't know them for anything other than, in many cases, crimes. Because cancellation truly means there is no job. And not, Disney doesn't want to give you a show, or, a few, maybe million people have deserted you. No! It means there is no opportunity to earn money because nobody likes you. Either they don't like you or they don't want to be seen to like you. However, in the modern age, you could be a Nazi and get a very successful job as long as you were famous already. If you're a famous celebrity who appears to you, who is very well liked, and then you come out and say some awful stuff, don't worry. There's a job lined up for you. You'll get probably less pay, but you'll still get a job. So I don't like this attitude that people have of, meeting cancellation. No, but you're not meeting cancellation. That's not cancellation. You're full of yourself and you are just like that person who insists they know the stuff. It must have been their skill that got them to where they are, because luck. And the fact that's just not really a great person, that can't be it. And the fact is, they're being told by people, oh, you're so good. And even though they may get hate comments, they may get people who don't like them, those people, they may cause such torment to them, such pain. But at the end of the day, oftentimes those people are not the people who are truly making good criticism. So they cause a different level. They don't remove this level of, oh, I'm being cancelled. They remove happiness, but not just self-thought. Thinking, oh, I must be me, I must be cancelled, I must be this, because I can't simply be less.
She invoked her experience of sexual assault, and it didn't help. She was still driven out of her artistic medium, functionally off of the internet. And like, I joke about being cancelled all the time, but I think if it actually happened to me, it would...
See, I disagree. This is okay. I generally try and not disagree with people unless I'm disagreeing with them wholeheartedly. But this here, I have to disagree. I have to disagree because I don't like the way celebrities, and they are celebrities, insist on interpreting things as cancellation. It's not, though. In a way, you have to be honest, you have to come up with a new term for this, because there are some people who are cancelled. Now, whether you think that people deserve it, somebody commits pedophilia, for example, yeah, I think the person deserves wholeheartedly to be cancelled. They should not have a place on you. They should not have a place in society like that. No, obviously. But maybe you disagree with other things, other reasons people will be cancelled. But you've got to understand when someone is just not cancelled. When someone has a career still in an industry that they may well have less of a career, but come on. When you're able to maintain a career where you don't post to YouTube, you simply use YouTube as a marketing place to build up an audience, and you force that audience into a new model. That doesn't seem good to me. Because, as far as I can tell, that is milking your audience and using this sort of problem. But yeah, but like, you know, I understand you want to move towards a model where you remove those ads, but what are you having there? Are you charging for that? The reason why Patreon works as a concept in a way, because you give money direct. Like, obviously this video was made 9 months ago, so, but like, yeah, it's currently on now. So, a platform I have talked about in the past as being suspect in its, you know, it's not great for viewers, really. Saying, oh, this thing is cheaper than YouTube Premium. Okay, but what does it have? What do you provide? You know? Like, it's a problem of just... Because, yeah, if you were cancelled...
Destroy me. As much as I want my platform to grow, the more people who watch me, the more inevitable...
But the point is, cancellation, in actual real terms, to understand the true meaning of the word before you lose it, is no platform. Not stagnation. Not decline. Nothing. Whether that be that everyone leaves you, or YouTube bans you, or all this happens. Most likely it's everyone leaves you, because, you know, if YouTube bans you, you can just sort of convert a bunch of your hardcore fans to some other offshoot. If you're a fascist, you can go somewhere else. What I'm saying is, you don't need... YouTube banning you might be, you know, a decline in your career, but it's not going to be a collapse in it if you're a fascist. Even if you're a left-winger, still there are other places to go. It's not true to say that YouTube is the only place. Now, will you, if you don't have a substantial platform to begin with, will you lose a lot of it, and will you most likely lose your income? Yeah. But if you have a large platform, no, you probably will be able to convert it. Because the hardcore fans will also be you're able to convert that sort of idea of, oh, look, they're being attacked, oh, look, I'm being cancelled, to convert that into more money for you from individual people. So yeah, you may be able to turn a profit. In a lot of cases, people who are cancelled tend to make a lot of money off their little cancellation, which is why it's even become a joke amongst people. We're like, oh, we should cancel every day because, like, this makes me a ton of money. And it does if you're a little fascist. Because, let's be honest, yeah, cancellation is nonsense when it comes to people who are popular online. Because, yeah, they might lose, even if you lose 1 million viewers, if the few thousand that are left are become core, really strong, and they give you hundreds, that's millions of dollars for you there, potentially.
It will be that I will be cancelled. And from watching what happened to Lindsay Ellis, from the glimpses of the toll we've seen it take on Natalie Wynn, this prospect is legitimately terrifying.
Yes, but the thing is, you do have to separate the effects of the impression of losing everything and the pressure of actual fact of what did you lose? Your reality, your mental capacity, your understanding of your own mental situation. And that is obviously different, though, to reality. There are many people for which the sources of mental anguish, the sources of mental pressure is not actually from reality, but from an oppression of reality that doesn't exist. And that's not going to be helped necessarily. Unless you start focusing in on, well, what actually did happen? And removing this idea of, I have seen channels I went decline. Were they cancelled? No. Is that ever a job? No. Was it? Yeah, I might be language. But you do have to separate that from actual people who actually face that. Now, obviously, you could make the argument of, is it the same endpoint? Arguably, for mental levels, yes. But I don't like the idea of this comparison between, not comparison, addition, calling it cancellation when it's not. Is it attributed?
This applies to everyone on a microcosm. A study about emotional disclosure on Facebook. Remember when people use Facebook?
I mean, yeah, let's be honest, like, Facebook is not the best place to...
The study found that people with dense social connections, so fewer friends, made up of people they were close to in real life, they used Facebook to disclose both positive and negative life experiences, with the desire for emotional expression predicting what they shared, which means that if something went wrong in their life, they'd make a post about how they were feeling upset. But as people's networks grow and things become more diffuse, people's behavior and strategy changes. Instead of sharing positive and negative emotions as determined by the need for expression, I'm sad, I'm going to post about that. I'm happy, I'm going to post about that. Instead of that, when networks grow, people begin to only share positive emotions.
And oftentimes lying about them. You're like, yeah, it's great. While not being.
As mediated by impression management, which it means essentially that people stop being emotionally vulnerable and start writing their posts based on trying to make themselves look good. And like, can you blame them? We can say that's gross, but can you blame someone for being worried about impression management? When Lindsay Ellis talks about sexual assault and people meet that with assessing her appearance and whether she is pretty enough to...
Jesus Christ, that's... Oh, God, that's not...
...have been violated. Not...
Questioning someone's poetry is a very weird thing. Also, you do realize pedophiles exist, right? Like, the majority of people who are into that sort of thing is not... They're not really into it for the person in most cases. Because, like, kind of fucked up in a weird sort of like, well, wait, what? What's going on? Your mind is already kind of weird, but like, now I'm like wondering what's even deeper than there, because now you got sort of a fighting situation going on. What I'm trying to say is like, why is that a thing? Like questioning someone's, oh god, yeah.
Still toxic. I guess she deserved it. If dunking is prevalent, then we have to keep guarded.
Yeah, but see, there's a difference between criticizing someone for the actions they take and criticizing for the actions they take, and then when something horrible happens to them or has happened to them, and you go like, yeah, you deserve it? No. Does a murderer deserve to be executed? Does a sexual assault person deserve to be executed? Some countries would say yes. If you have ever told someone they should kill themselves, that's what you're saying. You're saying they should be executed. Effectively, that's what you're saying. Anytime you think someone should kill themselves, you're saying that it should be policy for whatever that person has done or says or whatever the case may be, that they should be killed. That is what you were saying. Let's be honest. So if you think someone deserves that for what they've said / done / whatever the case may be, maybe it didn't actually happen, maybe they aren't doing that, but you are saying for what you believe to be the case. You're saying that they should have that thing happen. That should be a policy then. If you're saying they deserve it, you should do this. This is what should happen. Because otherwise, you're picking and choosing. And at that point, well, what other factors are coming there? Then we're not just talking about your personal opinions of what should happen to a person who does certain things. We're not just about you saying, oh, this should happen to a person, and being going, okay, that's a bit graphic and a bit extreme. We're saying you're now personally choosing. That's when we start thinking, no, your opinions aren't just odd and concerning. Your actual decisions about who will get what are concerning. You yourself are now becoming a problematic individual. So you have to be at least some
Forming bonds
objective.
via emotional disclosure becomes less and less accessible to us as our networks grow. I've had so many bad takes in my lifetime. I wonder what ableist or racist thing I think right now, which I've never thought to question, which in 2 years' time, as I've learned more, I'm going to be horrified by. I wonder if I've already written a thoughtless tweet that's going to ruin my life 5 years down the line. But beyond the personal,
Yeah, but it depends. In what way is it meant? Is it meant as, what I'm trying to say is it thoughtless, or is it, hateful, and then you lost that hate? But at the same time, it's thoughtless. In what way? What I'm trying to say is, if it's thoughtless, someone might criticize you for, well, should you value this person? What I'm saying is, there's a problem with the media landscape as well. Ruining someone's life, well, yes, but in what way are you ruining their life? Obviously, questioning someone's sexual assault is not the same as abandoning them and telling others you should abandon them. That's not the same thing, obviously. Threatening someone is not the same thing as abandoning them. Gaslighting is not the same thing as abandoning them. If you abandon someone who's online, who has popularity, that's not quite the same thing. Their life, you might think, might be ruined, but what if they never had that online popularity? Would that thoughtless thought be seen? Very unlikely. Imagine, if you will, there's someone with, 4 followers on Twitter who's something super racist. Are you going to you can't cancel them. They've got 4 followers. Where is going to be the cancellation? Society does not allow that racist person to be imprisoned. They did nothing wrong legally. So, unless you go to the extremes of doxing them, doing something like that, which is obviously, no, don't do that. But if the person has popularity, they can lose their popularity. That's not, though, a thing they deserve. That's not something that they get out of every human. So that might be seen as what is meant by that. So each individual person's life is different. So, well, in what way is it ruined? There's all these things. Anyway.
The culture of dunking could also hamper the goal of disrupting hierarchy, as we would be reticent to disclose the ways that we implicitly or explicitly contribute to the status quo.
Yeah.
We see this all the time. A person upholding the status quo but who has an intersection is criticized by people who don't have that intersection but don't uphold the status quo in the same way. So team that intersection gets into fights with team not upholding the status quo that way, and no one admits to the horror of the bits they do badly, only to the negative parts of the opposing team. I don't mean that we should celebrate ironically, no avenue Q, hey, everyone is racist and that's okay stuff, but recognizing the ways that your privileged positions on a given hierarchy may blind you to make good judgments, the ability to acknowledge implicit bias. If you're striving to get all of your words right, to keep from being dragged or dunked or ostracized, then it's hard to recognize your own biases and blind spots, and it's dangerous to admit to them publicly.
Yeah, but
we live in a culture of white supremacy and have undoubtedly internalized some of that shit. We live in a sexist and transphobic culture where there are only 2 genders and they're locked into narrow sets of acceptable behaviors.
Yeah,
We've been told to care more about refugees who are Christian than refugees who are Muslim. We need to fucking root all of that out, undoubtedly. Bad takes shouldn't be allowed to...
To be fair, though, some things are just objectively, they sound very odd and concerning. So you do need to be very close to it. You have people who are very religious and they may be very homophobic and racist and all this stuff, and they'll distance themselves from religion. They'll realize, oh, this is kind of hateful. But they'll never really lose all that, because that'll still stick to them, and they'll still have bits here and there, and you'll see it come out. You see the person who's like, well, but they're supposed to be very progressive, but because didn't they come from all that stuff, and they're like, how all that is bad, and but then they're saying all this stuff, and it's like, yes, because it sticks to you. But if you're able to separate yourself from that from the start, go, no, I'm not that. Realize if your society is built so that you are able to say, no, that's not me. I don't like that. Then you're not part of those groups who are held up. Or at least, and that's the thing. You're not part of the groups, or at least you're trying. So you can be somewhat of pushback. Problem is, if you are that way for a long time, it's always the issue. Some of those things are still there deep down.
stand. But ask yourself, have you always been totally woke without a single bias? Or biases dealt with in the exact right way? Have you ever said, I don't see race? Have you ever thoughtlessly asserted that women are just inherently more empathetic? Do you think neopronouns were a little clunky when you first hear them? How are any of us going to grow as individuals if we're so focused on image management that we're not able to admit to our flaws? And I know we're supposed to be speaking more to the left as a movement than offering self-help to individuals. I know that, but a movement is made of individuals.
Yes.
And right now, when someone makes a bad take, our choices are to see them in good faith and point them towards a more complex, nuanced, and thoughtful take, or to laugh at them for being chuds and ban them from the left forever. If you pick Camp 2, it will certainly make better dragging content, but we're going to see a lot more people cast out, including...
Yes, but...
almost certainly me.
I think one might make the argument that...
Oh, they are actually very good. They're actually very good. You know who else has been eating all the biscuits? Humankind. And by biscuits, I mean the planet. And by eating, I mean fucking it up. Yes, we have segued into our ad for Wren.
Oh, no. Okay.
Wren strives to offset your carbon footprint, and it does this by taking your...
Okay. Keep in mind, once again, it is a for-profit company.
...your subscription and using it to fund carbon removal, carbon offsets, affecting climate policy...
Carbon removal. Carbon offsetting.
...and conservation. Because we live in a society...
I have to ask, though, like, what policy? You know, like, lobbying doesn't really work when the other team has a bigger budget and, you know, because, you know, like from a politician's point of view, oh, do I accept this check from the oil lobby and everyone else, even some of the fucking green lobby who are like, oh, well, you do this green thing rather than this other green thing, which is kind of better because you have greenwashing that's done, you know, it's like, you do this thing, it's like, green gas? How is that? It's like, ignore it, it's just, it means the green, no, that's a transition fuel, but no time for transition fuels. You need to go full hog, buddy. You know, should that check over the one that has less money in it? Well, you would too, right? You're a politician. You're choosing between two, and yes, to be honest, you are being bribed. Like, now maybe that's a good bribe, but you are being bribed. You're fighting bribery. So either you just don't do bribery, and you're like, no, but how about you don't accept bribe? It's like, okay, but how do I win elections? If I don't accept the bribe, the other fellow will. The other person will. Does the bribe. So whether we both take the bribe, we battle it out, maybe we both win. You know, I'm glad one of the two, aren't I? Or I don't take the bribe, they give them all the money, and then they win the election. Because that's how it works. So.
And as a result, we too are the biscuit eaters. We're all participating in this seemingly inescapable destruction just because of what it takes to get through the day and commute and eat, especially if you're in the global north, especially if you're in the USA. So we could all use a way to balance the carbon emissions that are simply by virtue...
Yeah, as I said, if you're going to cut down trees, you're going to be releasing carbon. So, what? So, you know, like carbon offsetting, for example, people have said, well, if you just stop the destruction of trees, technically you're stopping the releasing of carbon. But that's not removing carbon, you know? That's just not letting more of it go. But if it burns down, you build up those trees again.
Even just to feel a little better? Well, firstly, you should remember that a huge amount of this is because of the systemic capitalist wholesale destruction, which has absolutely nothing to do with you and could absolutely be halted and helped if global governments, particularly the USA, just immediately made several very straightforward things illegal and imprisoned all the billionaires, because they are the real biscuit eaters. But anyway, that's just me, that's not Wren. Last time we talked about Wren, I mentioned this project they're funding that I quite like in California, where they're creating biochar. This is going to help prevent forest fires and act as a carbon sink. That's awesome. Maybe
Canada.
We want to get in on that. I have loved ones in California. It's quite scary watching those forest fires. Because I also said last time how I felt lucky to live somewhere as temperate and tame as Ireland, and I am, but we definitely felt a significant increase in temperature this summer. And as nearby as London, they actually had kind of an emergency in terms of their summer heat. I'm worried for my kids. So I really do think there's something valid to just even feeling like you're doing something. And these projects...
Isn't that sort of, though, like, lying to yourself? So being like, oh, I'm doing something. Yeah. I'm not saying you should do this, but I'm just saying, if you were to, you know, go into a Shell and BP or, you know, what's Saudi Arabian one called? I would not advise you to go to any Saudi Arabian ones because you'd probably get killed before you even get there. But OPEC, I think it's called. And you just fire on all the executives. You would do more good than you can ever really do with money if you're, but it's a wren at least. If you're, not very, very, very wealthy. That's going to do more good. I'm not saying you should do that. I'm just saying that will be better.
Projects seem legit. When the people at Wren are selecting a project to support,
wait. Sorry.
Doing something, and these projects seem legit. When the
Okay, seem is not great.
People at Wren are selecting a project to support. They try to make sure that that project is additive so that the funding actually makes a difference, that the amount of carbon that's offset is measurable, and that it's all going to be long lasting.
How long? Because trees eventually die. Eventually. So, how long are we talking?
Of course, that's still not enough.
Not like
this needs to be at policy level. Well, the anarchist in me is like, this needs to be beyond policy level. But the part of me that can see the merit of this is like, this needs to be at policy level. And so I'm quite happy to see that now 10% of your subscription goes towards the policy groups, the Clean Air Task Force.
As I said, what did they actually end up doing?
And Carbon 180.
Because we haven't actually done anything. The temperature levels are still growing, So we've reduced it slightly, the growth, but we haven't actually reduced it.
There are potential
still growing
technological advances that could come out of these two policy groups. And as much as talking about some perfect...
The thing is, though, we already have wind turbines, we already have solar power, we already have a lot of technology that can be used to not use greenhouse gases. We already have, packaging that doesn't use plastics or plastics that are, don't use fossil fuels and all this sort of stuff. And it's all these sort of things, these technologies that exist. Some of them are very expensive, so can't really be implemented. But a lot of them are just not used because, well... You voted for the politicians, guys. You voted for them. They don't want to support these policies. So, no offense meant, but a little bit on people who are voting. A little bit, just a little bit, kind of, you support a right winger, what you expect.
Imagined synergy between technology, entrepreneurship, and policy makes me feel like some purple-haired Elon Musk. I still think that given the interconnected and capitalist realist society we currently have, it's absolutely not a waste of time to plan, design, and most importantly, implement carbon-neutral technologies at scale.
Once again, Wren is a for-profit company. So, one of two things I can see there. Either they own all that land, and they mean as in, we will take your money and we'll build a bunch of trees. Not build, okay, grow. But we'll own all the land, and the trees are on, we'll own the trees. So, it kind of gives us a little bit of power. Or, it's just straight up hacking money. As well as trees, you don't have only technology.
And that's it. It's up to you. Offset
we own this solar farm. How do we own it? Because people gave us money. Donations, basically.
Carbon footprint with Wren. Follow the link in the description.
No, I don't think you should.
And the first 100 people will have 10 extra trees planted in their name.
See, this is the same thing you see with a savage title. It's basically nonsense. No.
I've eaten all the biscuits now, and I have to make it up to Sarah.
I've planted trees before. And I've, worked on tree planting before and all that. And first of all, trees take a long enough time to grow. A lot of them. So, are you choosing the ones that grow the fastest? Or, widest? What are you doing there to be the best thing? But then, of course, if you choose the wrong type of trees, you're just going to make them not very great for the environment and the kind of ecological, animals are not going to return. If you have palm trees, you're still taking out trees, but you're not going to have much of an environment there. They don't really much carbon. So the point is, though, is that in that scenario, well, that's still a tree, though. So what trees are you choosing? Because if you're choosing some trees, they're going to take a long time to grow. And in that case, we're fucked. Because, don't worry. In 30 years, they'll be able to take in the carbon. What? We don't have 30 years? Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, yes, that one actually.
Sarah, offset my selfishness. It would have been better to handle the biscuits responsibly in the first place. I'm going to get caught purple-handed. How is the continuity?
Well, sorry about that. The continuity, not sure exactly. Oh, by the way, Yeah, so yeah, the continuity is I'm not sure exactly. I mean, I don't know when they're filmed, so you know, who knows? But we'll see. Maybe they tell us. You know. Will you hear us? Sorry. Let's play the video now.
The
YouTube.
continuity in this episode. Because is my hair the same color as it's about to be in the next sequence?
I mean,
so we have a YouTube channel, and it's very small, and we're financially precarious.
yes. My God, YouTube, it's a remarkable ability to just sort of like pause and just not work at
It
it.
feels like we're always banging on about this. But what is the sense of talking about leftism and capitalism as if you're some outsider?
Yeah, when you have a YouTube channel that like has ads. Yeah.
We're in it. It sucks. So our options are to fill our videos with ads and...
I did just watch a sponsorship from a company that is a for-profit company that basically tries to prey on your fears of climate change to get you to give them money, which I would feel concerned because apparently they are a for-profit company, that they may own the things that you're paying for, and if they do own the things you're paying for, then what exactly are you paying for? You're paying for another company to own something. So are you actually being guaranteed that the thing is long-lasting, or are you simply, like, what happens if someone buys wren? Suddenly now they have all this land. Maybe they go, I mean, we said it would be long-lasting, but it's gone now. We're going to develop some property here.
Sponsorships, and hope that one of them goes viral. We haven't had a video go viral yet. Or, you know, not pay the rent. And while it is immensely, inexpressibly cool to get some of the comments that we get, and to have this be some people's favorite channel, and to make art that changes some people's lives, the fact remains that we only make enough money from Patreon to support one of the people who works on this channel.
Not me.
So, wonderful, helpful friends of ours have suggested that we finally do a video that isn't so damn long and artsy. You know what videos tend to go viral? Dunking ones. And we could really use a video that goes big. So why haven't we made a dunking video yet? We were forced to take a sponsor. We put mid-roll ads in our last 2 videos. We've even dunked on Jordan Peterson and Ben Shapiro and Bessel van der Becken Kalk while talking about other obtuse concepts. We're clearly not above dunking.
Have some more beef, Jordan!
Why not just make a dedicated video about one of these people? Well,
Other people already have.
personally, it's just not art, is it? It's gossip, it's dirty.
And other people already have, so it kind of feels a little bit like saying, no, it's just their video, but with me in it instead. So that's what I'm doing. I'm not copying though. I'm actually going to bother to do all the work, but it's none of the value though. You know, it's the equivalent of someone like, you know, making like a house or whatever, then tearing it to little pieces and going, now you make it. It's like, why though? Why am I making it? Why can't we just leave it at it as it is, you know? Just, you know? Why does it need to be thousands, not like hundreds, if not thousands of videos that are just the exact same, really, just with a different person in it? You know? Some of them do bring new things, but others are just new because they're newer, you know? They just have newer facts. It wasn't like someone left something out because, well, they didn't realize it or whatever. It's just literally like, you know, just, oh, well, sorry, update, you know, add it in here. I've made videos before where I've made a video and then afterwards it's gone, oh, that piece of news was announced, you know? Like, that's not in there now. That video is technically speaking wrong, or it's lacking a bit of information, which is like a basic. But I didn't realize. The worst, of course, is when you make a video and then the information comes out, like, when you're in the middle of making it, and then you only find out afterwards, like, I just released the video, Jesus. It should be in there. But you know what I'm saying? That's the thing. All I'm saying is, basically, it's this constant thing of people doing the exact same thing, people doing the exact same video over and over and over and over and over again, you know? I don't think I'm going to make a video on Sempert, because I've already seen people make videos. But of course, I feel though, as that sometimes you're like, okay, but yeah, but if there's only one person who watches the video and hasn't seen the other videos, and it's like, oh, so yeah, this company is a bit dodgy, you know? I want people to be educated about the issues in this world. So yeah, talk about the person because they are an issue. What happens though? What happens, Neil, if you're coming across something? If I'm going across YouTube and I see a Jordan Peterson video, What I'm saying is you can turn videos not into gossip, not into, but a PSA. Saying, beware of this person. Look at how wrong they are. Look how weird they are, you know? So if you ever come across their channel, be wary, because, you know. Dodge. Because
somebody said something stupid. Now I'm saying something smart that contradicts the stupid thing that they said. I will discourse. It's not quite how debate works, and it's definitely not how beauty works. But that is the wank of the wanker, wanking into the endless midnight.
Please,
it's not a substantive reason to take an artistic approach. It's a prejudicial excuse to not take an approach. Because honestly...
Ah, my God.
Sometimes dunking can be art, or at least useful analysis. Recently, Some More News did an analysis of Jordan Peterson's ideology, which was illuminating and smart and funny.
Also, DNA doesn't really look like snakes boning. It's more like a twisted ladder than two ropes spooning each other. It seems like Jordan could have Googled this, but instead has decided to teach a classroom of students that early humans knew what DNA looked like because of serpent coitus.
And way back when, Nerdwriter, the Da Vinci to our Marcel Duchamp, created an incredible essay about how Donald Trump answers questions.
This 220-word, exactly 1 minute answer displays, I think, a range of the things that Trump uses all the time in his...
To be fair, Donald Trump is it's a weird guy, you know. I have to say, Donald Trump is a weird person. Like, he is preferable to some other fascists. Because, like, Donald Trump is the kind of fellow who would be, like, almost a communist if that was popular. Like, and when I say popular, I mean, like, clearly popular. You know, like, there's sort of thing of, like, well, there's actually a lot more left-wing people in America than you might think, but because the Democratic Party isn't left-wing and neither the Republican Party, who do they vote for? Generally the Democratic Party, which makes them look like they're, like, liberals to being, like, even sort of centrist, you know, and there's that sort of thing there, which is that you don't really see that. And there's just sort of, like, thing of, like, oh, I'm not left-wing. It's like, okay, do you support universal basic income? Yes. Do you support reasonable people's rights? Yes. Okay. So you've support all the things that left-wing people do? Do you support these things? No. Okay, so you don't support right-wing stuff? Okay, so you are left-wing then, but you just don't realize it. That's the thing there. But, you know, I'm just saying Donald Trump is he's not exactly a very fixed person, for want of a better word.
The first thing to note is how simple this language
is.
Of the 220 words, 172, or 78%, are only one syllable.
It's often not art. It's really often not art. It's often just an arrogant cis man sitting at a desk asserting his intellectual dominance over someone who can't defend themselves and saying, here's the thing, a lot. Sargon of Akkad, real name Carl, he does that a lot.
This is the thing that is worth focusing on most.
King Critical.
As I say, some accents.
What the fuck that is, he does that a lot.
Like, this is the thing.
Ben Shapiro does it almost as like a tick.
So here's the thing, and here's the thing.
Before Ben.
Like, this is the thing.
Can I just advise...
The thing that is worth...
Okay. Accent. Background. Relatively good. Concerned about that, but like, you know, that there? Yeah, concerned about that. But be careful which flags you fly, because some of them are drenched in blood.
Worth focusing on most.
King Critical.
And
what the fuck that is, he does that a lot.
But then,
like, this is the...
What's that background?
Ben Shapiro does it almost as like a tick.
So here's the thing, and here's the thing. Now, here is the thing.
And sometimes mean commenters come
Ben.
on videos and say, Jesus, this is long, please get to the point. Because I don't think we often say...
If it's long... Okay, let me explain. If it's long, this is what you do, okay? I'm not saying you should... This is not nice, but it'll actually hurt a video. I am pretty sure. But, you know, like, to just, like, hurt the person to be, like, you know, just... Like, you're talking too slow. But just do this. See? Watch for a second. This is what happens. You'll burn through the
Here's the thing. We're going to decide. We're not teaching a course. You're not coming to our channel to learn indisputable facts. We're talking about the complexities of the world, the frameworks. There is no thing. Artists will recognize that there is no thing. The people who say, here's the thing, are not artists. There's no vulnerability to dunking. Art involves emotional disclosure. It involves at least some amount of, I thought I was the only person who thought that. Everyone thinks Ben Shapiro has...
Yes. That is...
Okay. Everybody says that. Good. Okay. A more vulnerable and scary thought might be,
That is a good point there. That is a good point. And that, I mean, this is the thing. Yeah. Oh my god. That's my version of it, I guess. That is the thing. It's like, yeah, it's a method of saying, here's the thing. I don't know why. Yeah, I guess I said it as well. Okay, but that's the thing. I'm just saying you can speed it up. But the point is, though, is that is a good point. That's what I'm trying to say. Reaction content is bullshit at the end of the day. Okay, now the audio is gone. Seriously, YouTube, it's like, you know, a fantastic ability.
As doo-doo coming in.
Yeah.
Okay? Everybody thinks that. Okay? A more vulnerable and scary thought might be, I used to agree with this guy a little bit, or there, but for the grace of Marx go I. In order.
But no, as you would not like, no, but like as you're saying, right? They're saying like how you that's not, you are trying to educate someone, but that's my point though as well, and that's the Jesus. Now I'm getting fucking self-conscious now. For God's sake, Neil, what have you done? Ugh. Like now I'm being like, oh no, I can't say that. Oh God. Well. Back to the video.
Part, we can't simply say, I disagree with this bloke real hard. So we're right back to emotional disclosure, aren't we? We're back to cringe. Do you know what Christmas crackers are? They're not a food. They're a cylindrical tube wrapped in wrapping paper filled with useless plastic junk masquerading as toys. You have them at Christmas dinner. You pull them apart like wishbones, but they're vegan. And a little firecracker makes a pop noise. The person who gets the big half gets the loot. A toy, a paper crown, and a joke to be read.
Generally.
And the jokes are bad.
Why can't a bicycle stand up by
It's
itself?
only got 2 wheels.
It's too tired.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know.
If you're not familiar with Christmas crackers, you're familiar with jokes of this nature, jokes written on the labels of Laffy Taffies, dad jokes, jokes that never make anyone laugh, or at least not until after an eye roll and groan.
Or like, oh, that's a bit of a basic one, isn't it? That kind of laugh. Like, yeah, there's not too many answers to the, why can't the bicycle stand up? It's like, well, there's like 5 possible answers to that. So, I mean, just literally there's 5 possible answers to that in any way. Not even like,
Why do these jokes exist?
In the
well,
joke
they
way.
serve an important social function. With all of the discontent around the Christmas table, in this instance, you can at least blame the joke and not the person. The attendees are united against a common enemy. We all agree that the joke is not funny. Or think about the song Happy Birthday. Who loves their singing voice? Hoots, put your hand down. No one sounds good singing Happy Birthday. It becomes a tuneless communal display which embarrasses the singers.
Yeah, it's opera, I remember I used to go to the opera, and every single time my favourite song at the opera was Happy Birthday. They used to roar that out and used to go, it's so impressive. The voice just rings out. No microphones at all. They used their fullest voice. It was very impressive. And used to have my opera class as well. I'd watch them.
And birthday alike.
Yeah.
But with bad jokes and bad songs, bonds are forged in the communal act of cringe. This is
I mean, to a certain extent, there's a thing of like, oh, I'm not making a joke. I'm just sort of like saying something. Like if I make videos where I'm sort of saying something. I'm not joking. If you know what I mean. I'm not actually like. It's sort of just making a comment. Like, interesting.
Serious emotional disclosure. This is
Not really,
a
though.
colleague with your greatest fear. But in this socially sanctioned act of being embarrassing together, we become a group, if only for a bit. It's antithetical to the unwavering cool and correctness that is socially sanctioned in all other situations. I am cool, they are cringe. I am right, they are wrong.
I mean, yeah.
YouTube was founded in 2005 by PayPal employees Stephen Chen, Chad Hurley, and Jawed Karim. According to Karim, the inspiration for YouTube first came from the Super Bowl controversy of that year, when Justin Timberlake exposed Janet Jackson's nipple during the halftime show.
Oh.
Karim found it hard to find video clips of the incident, which led to the idea of a video sharing site.
That's not great. It's similar to Facebook's thing of like, yeah, our founding. Why did we come up with this? Well, because our founder, one of our founders, wanted to be a little creep on the women in his college. Wow, that's okay. I feel like that should be somewhat of an arrestable offense, to be honest. Weird reason to set up a website. Okay. I'm a bit concerned as to that's the reason why you thought of YouTube. Is it okay? Concerning. Could just give an insight, doesn't it?
Because YouTube was built on the idea of people embarrassing themselves. That nipple slip wasn't about titillation, but humiliation.
Yeah.
And yes, that was the Super Bowl I'd stayed up to watch with my dad.
Yeah, but like, you're still making fun of something.
But there were too many ads for Viagra. American TV is weird. It's weird. But what a horrible legacy for a woman just trying to do her job and perform. That we keep having to harken back to a moment of embarrassment for her, because that's why all of this exists. But it makes another point too. You don't shame people into obscurity, you shame them into infamy. How many of you would even know who Jordan Peterson was if we weren't dragging him on leftist media? If he weren't the gold standard for the current...
There is though the thing of which came first, the chicken or the egg. Obviously the egg. Don't be an idiot. Like, it's basic science. But you know, and like so, I just side the minute. Point I'm making is that which came first? Did he, you know, become a right-wing figure that was like on the news for being, you know, that way, or was it that, you know, when I say on the news, I'm including left-wing channels, but like, you know, or was it like, you know, I'm on the news, as in I'm giving an interview and I was censored? It's like, okay, but you're actively on the news, being watched by thousands of people. So are you being censored, or you know?
Of leftist communication. Now, we've played a fast and loose game here with the idea of dunking and the idea of cancelling, and we should be careful. The word cancelling entered the lexicon with the movement to cancel Or Kelly, a man who was abusing vulnerable black girls and had been for years. Removing your financial support as the only recourse you have to deal with literal monsters is not the social action we're criticizing. We should always be speaking truth to power.
Yeah, but see, then you need a new word, and that's my point. People have fucking misunderstood it. Because the thing is, I'm someone who learned to the concept of, not from that, but from other things. From people who were, in fact, and the thing is, I've learned that, and when I was learning about that, I was learning about false accusations as well. Things where someone's life was ruined because they had a false accusation against them, and society didn't think about them. And the problem is, though, is that even when that's the case, you still have to be honest and like, well, why did they cancel them? Why? Well, in the case of where they're falsely accused, they were accused of being a pedophile. And I think that is a perfectly reasonable reason to cancel them. They weren't guilty, apparently, to the best of my knowledge, to the farthest opinion, you know. But from the perspective of someone, if you truly believe that that's what the person has done, is that okay to remove your sport from it? Yeah. Then you need a new word. You can't use cancellation, because even from its other interpretations, like, oh, I cancelled a TV show. Is that, oh, the TV show is still active, getting millions of views? Okay, you know.
Power, always ready to come for those who are unequivocally doing evil. Because singular individuals having power is the thing we're antitheticalizing. And so, therefore, Sarah and I, as content creators, should be positively phobic to having all of the answers. Instead of one parasocial relationship that represents cool and right and untouchable and the way of doing life, it should be many, many benevolent, communal, connected nodes, all of who are ready to admit when they don't have the answers, when they have biases. Or, as Sarah, the immigrant, feels particularly, when they don't even know the thing they don't know until they screw up. Because to be vulnerable and to make statements involves screwing up. Being a person who cannot have every intersectional identity makes you blind not only to the experience of others, but even to the ways that that blindness might manifest.
Yeah, but there's a difference between having your society where you are built to be a certain way and then the group that just doesn't know things, you know? Because there's two different groups there, you know?
Manifest. A single thought leader with a bunch of people who agree with them isn't as powerful as a bunch of smaller nodes that create a more diffuse style or approach or way of thinking. That leaves an option for debate and disagreement while still holding each other in mutual high regard.
I mean, like,
because we're all blind to our bias.
Yeah, like I've made videos on reacting to Novara media, agreeing with them a lot of the time, but I also made a video in the past where I criticized them heavily, and I made an entire video being like, no, you are wrong. You are wrong. This is incorrect. And that was something which I feel like it is important to be about. But if you're someone who watches Novara media and you disagree with that, you can find me, although maybe not on this channel, maybe on my other channel, you know, that's a little bit more actually educational rather than reactionary. And, you know, you can do that there. And that's the thing that I feel like, that is a good thing, because you do have these things where it's like, yeah, but that person is wrong, or maybe you disagree with them in that way. And it's like, yeah, it is important, I think, to have these different areas. So you're not just becoming a sheep, you have different thoughts. Because, yeah, I mean, I do see a lot of people who are, you know, even on the left, who are very, very wrong about, like, a lot of things. Like, it's like, you know, I mean, in this video, I've reacted to some of the leftists, and, you know, reacted to, you know, to them, and I've also reacted to, you know, Sarah as well, and I've reacted, you know, they're both like, I've reacted, and I said there's some issues and there's some things I disagree with, and those are things that I feel like are important to discuss, that we often see with, you know, people who are, you know, oftentimes there is the issue, though, of people wanting to have connections. They want to have an almost business type strategic alliance, you know, style thing of, oh, we'll collaborate together, we'll be under the same management company, all these sort of things. You're like, but that's not good. You know, either you're self-censoring or else you're like sort of just forming into the one thing. And that's one problem of like, well, are you all different areas or are you all just, you know, things? But anyway, yeah.
And maybe humility is recognizing that other people are too. If we take each other in good faith and amplify smaller voices, we can ensure a diversity of thought which would be, by its very nature, more intersectional. And so to the business of actionables. We are starting a project with Kaylin fucking Conrad, mainly fucking Mandy, Little fucking Hoot, and Ponder fucking Full, and whoever else. Our door is open for small leftist arty creators who are never going to get blessed by the algorithm, the same way we've never been blessed, and would have no audience at all without generous boosts from Thoughts Lime, Zoe B, Kaylin Conrad, Verily Bitchy, and Jesse Gender. So we're passing that on.
See, I like that. I like that. I would, once again, I would like to say that a lot of left-wing people do totally misunderstand why exactly they are not, you know, liked with each other, which is they don't sell enough. They can't sell enough. Because if you're a left-wing person and you see a scammy ad where it's like selling something which is, you know, not required, you're not going to be as inclined. Whether that is intelligence, you know, some idiot is a right-winger just because they're not very smart, or it's just because you just aren't really connected to that. It's like, yeah, that'll be a product which you won't end up buying, you know, because you disagree with it maybe. Well, that's a product you can't sell. If your audience don't click on that ad, then YouTube can't pay you because they didn't generate money off of that. And I feel that this is oftentimes when people do, though, they take this personally and think like, oh, YouTube is censoring me, YouTube is against me. Yeah, because you don't make enough money for them. You know, it's not just them being like, oh, I don't like left-wing people. YouTube would be delighted to push left-wing people. And I think this is one of the things which you can do, which is definitely, I think one way to grow on YouTube if you're a left-wing channel is to have your little join button here. See? Have a little join button here. If you have a join button here, that means that you're able to say join, and YouTube is able to take a portion of that revenue and say, because that is often the case where, that's the only case oftentimes where people who are on the left get an increase from people on the right, and that's donations from people. Because instead of those, you know, instead of, you know, your audience clicking ads and buying products and buying the thing you're sponsored by and all these things, instead they're oftentimes spending that money donating to you. Now, oftentimes this is not always true, but, you know, it does often happen with left-wing YouTubers where they've got more money than a similar right-wing channel because they have a more funnel that goes to that, you know? And that's the thing. It is a fundamental misunderstanding, and I feel like I should educate viewers on this, which is oftentimes concerning, but you know, yeah. So yeah.
By creating a channel to highlight the videos of smaller creators, a space for you to parasocially hang out with us and to discover new voices. It's called F the Algorithm. And if you would like to submit a video, send an email with your name and pronouns and something about what the video means to you. There are full instructions in the description. And if you're someone who watches leftist videos, keep an eye out because September is our launch. So dunking videos are not going away. Some of them are even quite funny. But before you dunk, we'd ask you to ask yourself, for whom the dunk dunks, it dunks for thee. And that's the video essay. Well.
Yeah, well, it's pretty good. All in all, I think that, generally speaking, we do see that, you know, it is... I have disagreed with the points made. Agreed with most of them. Overall, good video. You can check out the leftist cooks in the video description. The original video is also in the description if you skipped here, or if you just want to watch the original video without me interrupting and annoying you. But that sort of thing's there. So yeah, put this whole song at the end, I guess, I am talking about, which is kind of rude and I probably should stop doing that. But yeah, you can do that. You can go to the channel, link in the description, you can go to the video, original video in the description, and all those things, link in the description. Yeah, so go ahead, check out the leftist cooks, they make good videos. Just watch more of them. So yeah, thanks for watching them, and I don't know why you're watching me though. Yeah. Sorry for skipping past the Patreon supporters. But, yeah. Sorry. Well, yeah. Oh, also, yeah, so this one, also, I like that in the description as well. Schlon. Yeah. Yeah.